February hidden history object is a Workman's Time Book, or Daybook, from Rice Hope Plantation in Georgetown County. This small leather book, measuring 4 by 7 inches, is 123 years old. The inside pages are filled with handwritten notes, names, and wages paid by owner Frederick Wentworth Ford to his mostly African American employees beginning in May 1897. The book, while small in size, gives us a glimpse into the life of a local rice plantation in a time of transition, a time where Ford and his employees were still struggling to live in a post-Civil War South. Much had changed for the residents of Georgetown County, but for many, that change was scarcely noticeable. Frederick Wentworth Ford was born in Charleston, South Carolina in 1858 and was the son of Frederick Wentworth Ford Sr. and Mary Mazik Hume. He attended Porter Military Academy in Charleston, and after graduation he moved to Georgetown County to plant rice. Rice Hope Plantation had been in the Lucas family since its purchase by Jonathan Lucas Jr. in 1817. Lucas and his father are best known for their work with improving rice milling in the Low Country. Simon Lucas built the 2-story house in 1836. The property passed to William Johnston Lucas, a former Confederate Army officer who returned home to run the plantation for his family. Lucas sold the plantation to his new son-in-law, Ford, who married Mary Ash Lucas on December 2, 1896. Frederick Ford planted rice at Rice Hope until 1908, but finally gave up because of the severe freshets or storms that caused the rice fields to flood, destroying the rice harvest. Between 1893 and 1913, 11 tropical storms and hurricanes hit the South Carolina Low Country, making it virtually impossible to have a successful harvest and putting an end to the crop that had brought great wealth to area planters. In 1926, Ford sold the plantation and its 1,113 acres to William Beach, president of Sterling National Bank and Trust Company of New York City. Beach used it as a hunting retreat, adding large tracts of land to the property. Ford moved his family to Wedgefield in 1909 and planted rice in the Black River Plantation for several years. His obituary in 1930 called him one of the last rice planters in South Carolina. The daybook spans from May through October 1897, and each week Frederick Ford wrote down the names of the men and women who were working for him. Some have last names, some only a first name. Little is known about the exact identity of these workers. Ford's writing is almost illegible at times, and it's unlikely that we'll ever know who each worker was and what happened to them after 1897. There are columns for Sunday through Saturday, along with the total time, rate per day, and the amount they were paid for the week. Some weeks, Ford had roughly 80 people listed in his book, but most were only working a day or two each week. Some weeks are busier, and some employees earned as much as $3.25 a week. Multiply that by 4, and Ford's workers could make as much as $13 a month. Unfortunately, the majority of the workers on the plantation in 1897 were earning far less, roughly $1 to $2 a week. Work for most laborers, both black and white, tended to be seasonal and could vary depending on the weather and the crop. The Statistical Abstract of the United States gives the wages for hired farm laborers in South Carolina in 1898 as $9.96 per month. Just 7 years earlier, in 1891, the rate for South Carolina farm laborers was $12.50 a month. By 1909, the wage rate for a month of work had risen to $15.71. South Carolina, it seems, was one of the poorest states in wage rates. Maine farm laborers, in comparison, were earning $25.65 per month in 1898. A male worker in a cotton mill in Pelzer, South Carolina, could make 77 cents a day working as a carter. This was at least 50 cents more than the workers were earning on Ford's rice plantations. When Ford completed this book in October 1897, rice was on the decline in South Carolina. Statistics show that South Carolina was producing only 19% of the total rice in the United States. In 1899, Louisiana had taken the lead as the top producer of rice, with over 60% coming from that state. Why the change? Several factors are typically given. First, the lack of workers, as freedom was given to the formerly enslaved men and women who had been forced to toil endlessly on the land. Many other freed men and women and their descendants stayed and continued to work for their former masters, now earning a salary as day laborers. But salaries were small, and most were barely able to make a living, forcing many to relocate to other cities and states. Another major contributor to the fall of the Rice Empire was the weather. Hurricanes, storms, and general flooding had taken its toll on the rice fields. Year after year, rice fields were flooded, crops were destroyed, and planters faced endless obstacles as they watched years of labor literally being washed away. As low-country planters struggled to keep their rice fields producing, they watched as competition from neighboring states and countries produce rice easier and cheaper. Many landowners found they simply couldn't hold on, and they sold their lands to the wealthy men who were coming to Georgetown looking for prime locations for duck hunting and winter retreats. Frederick Wentworth Ford died in 1930. By the time of his death, he had moved away from his plantation and was residing in a house on High Market Street in the city of Georgetown. His small Workman's time book, an ordinary, everyday object, has survived over a century. It represents a time in our history where life was in transition for most of the people living here in the Low Country. Time has forgotten the people listed within the pages, but their legacy of hard work and determination remains, forever preserved in the Georgetown County Library Archive.